Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. Today's talk is actually a continuation of what we just heard. कब तक भटकते रहेंगे, बस तेरे पास आना है, तुझे पाना है, यही टॉक का भी सारांश है. Psychic contact with the mother is almost the goal of integral yoga, the goal of our sadhana. And for those of us who have unwaveringly chosen this path, it is the very purpose of our existence. When we think of the mother, in the small book, The Mother by Sri Aurobindo, he describes various aspects of the mother and various poises of the mother consciousness. The one whom we adore as the mother is the divine conscious force that dominates all existence. Just that line is a powerful meditation in itself. The divine conscious force that dominates all existence. Further down, to understand actually what that sentence contains, we can look at how Sri Aurobindo talks about the mother as the transcendental, the universal, and the individual. There are three ways of the being of the mother of which you can become aware when you enter into touch of oneness with the conscious force that upholds us and the universe. The mother herself says, when she was asked, what is the transcendent mother? The transcendent, which is above creation, at the origin of creation. Sri Aurobindo says it is the term Adya Shakti, the supreme consciousness and power above the universe. What we can conceive in our widest consciousness, most of us, most of the time, is the universe. Even in our deepest meditations, widest meditations, we can get a glimpse of something of the universe, and yet this power stands beyond the universe, beyond the universes. In Bhagavad Purana, there is an episode where Krishna is in Vrindavan and once Brahmaji comes down and is waiting in a garden to meet Krishnaji. His swan is there, parked by his side, and Chaturmukha Brahma is standing in the garden, waiting to meet Sri Krishna, the Lord of the universe. After some time, he sees somebody approaching through the air on a swan, and then comes almost identical looking another Chaturmukha Brahma with a swan. And Brahmaji is confused. He says, I am Brahma, the creator of the universe. Who are you? He says, I am also Brahma. I am a creator of the universe too. So many universes, and the transcendental power is beyond these universes. This is the transcendental poise of the Divine Mother. The Mother herself says in the book The Supreme, in the terrestrial evolution, man, who is emerging out of the inconscient and ignorance, is guided by the Supreme. And the Supreme, in order to manifest his reign upon earth, labors to uplift the human consciousness so as to establish the divine consciousness. And for this, he does not delegate someone, but he himself manifests physically, even in the ignorance, to accomplish his work. And it is I who have been appointed to raise up man and the creation out of this inconscience. The Mother is saying it herself. It is I who am responsible. What I wish, the Lord also wishes. I am the Supreme in the unmanifest. But in the creation, the Supreme acts only through me, exists only by me, and wills nothing but what I will. There is no distinction to be made. Very rarely do we see Mother speaking in these terms. This is a conversation with Monada. And then she goes on to say, you have no idea that the whole world, the entire universe bows down to me, imploring me in an act of adoration to serve me. You do not know who I am and who has descended in the ignorance amongst you. Who has consented to be human? Who has consented to be human? To take up the physical body among you all. You have no idea who is there before you. Well, I mean, what profound movement of compassion for the creation must have compelled that infinite consciousness to, as it were, compress itself into a human form and bear the attacks of the ignorance and the limitations of the ignorance so that she could uplift the human consciousness. If only we contemplated upon it. Perhaps the women in the audience might have some inkling of it when they give birth to a child. But for men, we are conditioned to not experience that. And therefore it is incomprehensible. The act of self-sacrifice, what Sri Aurobindo calls the holocaust of the Prakriti. And then the Mother goes on to say, well, even the gods whom you revere so much perform tapasya in order to have a glimpse of me. It is for me and through me that the whole universe exists. And it vibrates in my consciousness. It is through me that all living beings and inanimate things and all that you see in the manifestation acts and progresses. There is nothing that is not within me. I am the cause. It is in me that all things disappear. Everything is expressed in me and aspires to take refuge in me. Those who know me a little give their entire lives to find me. I am above the whole manifestation. This is how the transcendental poise has been expressed by Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. For many of us, it is perhaps an unlikely poise, unlikely situation that we will come in direct contact with that poise, or even try to have a mental glimpse of it due to the absolutely transcendental nature, for the lack of a better word, of that. Coming down one step closer to us is the Universal Mother. The Mahashakti, the Universal Mother, works out whatever is transmitted by her transcendent consciousness from the Supreme and enters into the worlds that she has made. Her presence fills and supports them with the Divine Spirit and the Divine all-sustaining force and delight, without which they could not exist. She enters into the worlds. Sri Aurobindo elaborates the same conscious force, the Divine Shakti, when she spreads herself in the cosmos, in the universe, she is the cosmic Mahashakti. She contains them, she holds them. Not only does she hold them, she enters into them, she dwells in them and conducts them through their million processes and forces. As we try to recognize the Mother, as we try to understand a bit of the Mother, a part of our sadhana is also to see that it is she who is around us, she who is in the million circumstances that we encounter in our life, she who is guiding even the most misguided in our opinion. वो स्फुरना जो उनके अंदर, उनके भीतर से होती है, वो भी माँ है. हाँ, हो सकता है sometimes we like it, sometimes we don't like it. Sometimes it is in consonance with our worldview and sometimes it is not. Yet, to recognize that somewhere in them, deep inside, is the Mother impelling them, is perhaps a process of yoga, perhaps a step of yoga, particularly for those of us who are in the Grihastha ashram, those of us who are dealing with meetings and careers and differences and conflicts and politics. Yet invoking the Divine Presence in the one confronting us, invoking that Divine Presence, that Mother, this too is you, help me see you there, is a part of our sadhana and evolution to widen our consciousness and see the Mother in the universal aspect. Aside from that, in the chronicles of our ashram, there are many episodes where Mother has in so many ways demonstrated her universal aspect. One of the most dramatic ones is when one of the sadhikas around the Mother, she said, Mother, we understand the individual part. You are there, we are with you, we serve you, we work with you. What is the universal Mother? It is said Mother took 2 steps forward, and where she was standing earlier was a column of white light. Simply a column of white light. She revealed that as a universal aspect of her. Shri Kapali Shastriyar, who is again a sadhak of Sri Aurobindo ashram, he used to see Mother often when she was walking on the terrace as a column of white light. As we approach that consciousness, there are sadhaks in the ashram who have, at some points of their higher states of consciousness, seen a shimmering white light in everything around. The door, the doorknob, the plant, the tree. There's a white light surrounding all of them. Somewhere a bit of the universal presence of the Divine Mother being revealed to them in the states of higher consciousness. Once the mother walked through the garden and went to the upper floor where other people were waiting for her, and as she was walking into those rooms, suddenly she turned around and rushed outside, came to the window facing the courtyard, and the gardener at noontime was about to cut a rose, and the rose appealed to the mother, and she said, "This is not the time to cut it." The universal aspect of the mother. We all know how when an axe was stuck in the banyan tree in Aurobindo, the banyan tree appealed to her, and she sent someone to see what the matter was, and the axe was removed. Similarly, animals, birds, a lizard used to come to the mother during her lunch hour and she used to feed it. Her manifestation visibly at the universal level was there for many of us to read about and many sadhaks to see. She indeed was a mother to a plant, to an animal, to a bird, to a cat. We know how many stories of the mother are there with cats. It is perhaps a good beginning to appreciate and relate to these things, but even more necessary from a sadhana point of view, to question ourselves, are we also opening to the mother in the universal aspect? Are we able to vibrate in that level of consciousness? Are we able to feel that at least for a few moments during our life's sojourn, that we see the mother in that universal aspect? Are we able to bring that love and compassion unfolding from our heart? Once on one of his birthdays, MP Panditji went to the mother and did his pranams, and the mother asked, "What would you want?" He looked at her and said, "Mother, divine love, your love." And by then he had been in the ashram for practically all his adult life. She said, "But you already have it." And he said, "Mother, I want to manifest it. I want to manifest it. Receiving is fine, but I want that to go out into the world through me." Is our life reflecting even a tiny drop of the mother's love in the most conducive circumstances to begin with, and yet in the more difficult circumstances that inevitably we face in our life? Even those who disagree with us, do they feel that vibration of compassion and love radiating from us, so that the difference doesn't become a point of conflict and resentment, but it merely becomes a difference? These are the points we need to ponder as we do the sadhana of integral yoga. Are we able to radiate that love of the mother? Sri Aurobindo was known for his compassion. Is everyone who is coming in touch with us able to sense that compassion flowing out in our thoughts, feelings, words, and actions? After all, a spiritual seeker, the poise from which he is expected to operate is a deep divine love. That vibration, are we able to hold it in our hearts, and are we able to radiate it, so that whoever comes in touch with us feels that vibration of mother's love and carries it as something precious? Some points to ponder in our sadhana. In the universal aspect, another thing that Sri Aurobindo explains to us is that there are many gods that come out of the mother to do her work. The mother stands there above the gods, and all her powers and personalities are put out in front of her for her action. And she sends down emanations of them into these lower worlds to intervene, to govern, to battle and conquer, to lead and turn their cycles, to direct the total and individual lines of these forces. There are many manifestations of gods which we can relate to as originating from the Supreme Divine Mother. Recently we had Durga Puja, Dasha Mahavidyas, Kali, Tara, Dhumavati, all of these, Shailaputri, Navadurgas were there. All of these are manifestations of the Mother. Similarly, in the Sri Vidya path of sadhana, there are many gods and goddesses that are explained. All of these are manifestations of the Mother. Of course, most famously, Sri Aurobindo talked about Maheshwari, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi and Mahasaraswati as the powers of the Mother. And then there are the other powers that are further down the lines of manifestation. We will not dwell much upon that. And then we come to, after the transcendental and the universal, probably the most favorite aspect for us is the individual Mother, whom we've called Doshmer, beloved Mother, Divine Mother. And here Sri Aurobindo writes, personally too, she has stooped to descend into the darkness, that she may lead it to light, into the falsehood and error, that she may convert it to the truth, into the death, that she may turn it to godlike life, into this world pain and its obstinate sorrow and suffering, that she may end it in the transforming ecstasy of the sublime Ananda. Going further, the Mother elaborates, she has descended upon earth to participate in their nature, because if she did not participate in their nature, she could not lead them farther. If she remained in her supreme consciousness where there is no suffering, in her supreme knowledge and consciousness, she could not have any contact with human beings. And it is for this that she is obliged to take on the human consciousness and form. It is to be able to enter into contact with them. Only she does not forget. She has adopted their consciousness, but she remains in relation with her own real supreme consciousness. And thus, by joining the two, she can make those who are in that other consciousness progress. If she did not suffer with their sorrow, she could not help them. Hers is not a suffering of ignorance, it is a suffering through identity. Many of us, as we evolve, we are moving in a journey from ignorance to knowledge, from darkness to light. That is the reason for our suffering. Yet, when the Mother dons the human garb, hers is not a suffering of ignorance, it is a suffering through identity. Because सागर को गागर में भरने की कोशिश कर रही है वो, और हमारे साथ हाथ पकड़कर चलने की कोशिश कर रही है वो. And that is suffering, that is darkness. It is because she has accepted to have the same vibrations as they, in order to be able to enter into contact with them and pull them out of the state that they are in. If she did not enter into contact with them, she would not be felt at all, or none could bear her radiance. If she came down in her supreme form, none could bear her radiance. Even in the human form, they would attenuate their Shakti so that we could bear them. Sri Aurobindo, during darshans, he has himself gone on record saying he withdraws a little of his power so that we could bear to receive what he is giving us. Look at that compassion. And as the individual mother, we meditate. She used to play the organ, and we still meditate upon her music, her voice, her tread in the world. In the book The Supreme, the mother herself dwells on many of these aspects, and I will read out a few. These are the individual aspects that give us a little bit of a feel of what exactly she manifested. And somewhere, if we are able to recognize that vibration, go into tuning with that, we get into contact with her. Monada says, Mother, I had always the impression that your voice is exceptional. It is extraordinary. We have never heard a similar voice. It carries up, shakes the whole being, and gives an impetus to our aspiration. It inspires us to be sincere and conscious. It is marvelous, Mother. It kindles the psychic flame. It is sweet and at the same time powerful. These are Monada's comments. And Mother adds, you are right, my child, it is exactly like that. It is unique because it vibrates with the power to manifest. My voice is not ordinary. This voice shakes up and tears the past, drives away the ill will, sanctifies and purifies the atmosphere all around. It is formidable. You know, my voice is heard in the soul. This voice, clear, pure, tranquil, is filled with love and light, and above all, an infinite compassion which extends to all who hear it. It evokes an ardent aspiration in all the hearts. It has a supreme healing power, and its vibrations remove the difficulties and the obstacles vanish as by an enchantment. My voice tears the veil of ignorance and imperceptibly penetrates the heart to awaken the consciousness. The voice liberates the head of all mental influences and the anxieties that weigh upon us and torment us. It shakes up the physical tamas, drives away fear from our inconscience. My voice awakens the calm certitude in all hearts. This voice is consciousness itself. It awakens the consciousness in the inconscience. My voice comes from the Supreme and He expresses Himself through me. It is charged with an extraordinary force to manifest the divine powers. It vibrates and gives an impetus to our aspiration. It penetrates into the hearts and awakens the central being, removes the screen which covers the psychic flame to lead the consciousness toward the Lord of existence. We have been blessed with the recording of the Mother's voice, which is now accessible to all of us. Both as part of Sunilda's music, we hear her voice. There are portions of Savitri that the Mother has read, which are available to us. The entire book, The Mother, is available to us in her voice. This is the power that these recordings bring closer to us. Practically, everything that we ever aspire for, removing of ignorance, the dawning of knowledge, the psychic awakening, all of this is possible if we make hearing a recording of the Mother's voice a part of our routines. Sometimes months pass away, even though we know it is quite accessible on our mobile. Just play YouTube on YouTube and you get it. Yet, if we are conscious of it, it makes it possible to let these waves of knowledge, light, power touch us, touch our hearts, reach our souls, go even down into our inconscience and do the clearing of those tables there with full of muck and all of that. Everything is embedded in the Mother's voice right there. Only if we are conscious, we are able to take advantage of this supreme blessing that has been bestowed upon us. These are good opportunities to remind ourselves of the 100 ways in which we can come closer to the Mother. 100 ways in which we can awaken the Mother's consciousness in us. The Mother's music. My music calms the body. From it emerges a sort of compassion which envelops the one who is listening. It is like a harmony that neutralizes the disharmony. My music brings down the original vibration from the source. My music comes from the absolute silence, where sound is created, original vibration with its waves, pulsations, which sustains the worlds and the universe in a perpetual blossoming. My music evokes a soul state by the revelation of the eternal truth. My music liberates you from human pettiness and the narrowness of the ignorance, and it thrusts you up towards a communion with eternity, where leaps forth the flash of light and an outburst of ananda. To absorb my music, you must enter deep inside in an intimate communion with the worlds and planes of consciousness that open the doors of the psychic being. The Mother herself, in these passages, has given a clear indication of the power of her music. Many times when we get into habits, we play Mother's music and our mind goes around, bhu brahman karke aati hai. And sometimes we fall asleep. Yet when you read these passages and remind ourselves as to what this stands for, then naturally our receptivity, our awareness, our attentiveness to what we are to receive from it. It's like we come into attention, and that naturally multiplies the power, the strength, our receptivity, all of that. And yet, these are small elements that can be embedded into our sadhana on a daily and weekly basis. When the mother was in Pondicherry, often she would walk in and around the ashram. It is through my feet that I transmit the power of transformation into matter, into the inconscience of the inert mass of this anguished earth. Just look at how powerful these words are. One of the sadhaks wrote to her, "Mother, I feel that there is a force being transmitted through your feet. It is active, or rather dynamic, with rays of light and peace." The mother acknowledges, saying, "Yes, my child, it is exactly that, because it is the force of transformation. It is why it is dynamic. That is why it is dynamic. There is a light that penetrates to illumine the mass in the inconscience." Every aspect of Mother's existence has so much for us to learn, to understand, to prepare, to receive, and eventually to progress. Sri Aurobindo says, "The mother's pressure for change is always strong. Wherever her consciousness is invoked, the pressure for change is always strong. Even when she does not put it as a force, it is there by the very nature of the divine energy in her. That is the mother's force, that is the mother's power. As we listen to her music, as we listen to her voice, as we invoke her in our hearts, as we read about her and try to soak in the consciousness, as we read her words every day and try to go into some contact with her consciousness, the inherent result of all of these actions is the progress of our soul. Because essentially, there is a pressure for change. What kind of change? Movement from ignorance to knowledge, movement from darkness to light, movement from error to the truth. This is what Mother represents, this is what Mother stands for. And after all, if the purpose of human birth, according to all spiritual traditions, is evolution, progress, self-realization, then this is the energy that carries us forward. We have arrived, and that is the blessing we need to recognize. In this world of 7+ billion people, probably 6.9 billion do not even know if there is a God or if there isn't. And among the few 100 million that know that there is God, they don't know where to find Him or what path to choose. And then they go spiritual shopping. Those of us who are here, all those stages of our soul's evolution are over. We know that there is a higher truth. We know that there is a path that we have been guided to walk upon. We know that there is a Guru who is active in consciousness every moment, eager to help us evolve. Now the only thing left is to consistently be in touch, because all of us are in touch, but there are moments when sometimes moments, sometimes hours, sometimes days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months pass away before we reconnect. And these are opportunities to remind ourselves, to make a resolution to reconnect. In the Indian spiritual tradition, when a disciple comes to a guru, there is a method of initiation. It is well known. So once when somebody joined the ashram, he wrote to Sri Aurobindo, "I would like Mother to give me a mantra so that I can be initiated." And Sri Aurobindo wrote back that Mother does not give mantra, she gives work. This is a very profound and insightful comment of Sri Aurobindo. I may digress a bit and continue further on the Mother's gaze, her luminous gaze. But I would also like to take this opportunity to point out something. Sadhana is done in many ways, and many of us are content being at home, reading Mother, reading Sri Aurobindo, doing our meditations, etc., etc. But the most concrete sadhana in our path is done by doing Mother's work. Again and again and again, Sri Aurobindo has emphasized this. And a fabulous place such as this campus offers plenitude of opportunities to serve. Because when we work and offer physical labor, the physical, the vital, the mental, the prana, the very breath are all consecrated directly to the divine with no personal motivation. And that is the greatest offering we can make to the divine. In our path, while there were no mantras and there were no amulets or there were no sacred threads, one of the things, Mother's gaze, Mother's look, Chakshu Diksha it's called, the gaze of the Guru. The Mother says, I work a lot. I do many things with these eyes, which reflect the soul. These eyes communicate directly with your soul. It becomes a bridge, and I transmit the force. It passes directly from my eyes like a ray of light invisibly. But it is in this way that I communicate and work to change the consciousness, the attitude, to illuminate it and guide it for the total progress of the persons I see. If we assume that this is limited to the physical gaze of the Mother while she was in her body in Pondicherry, then we would be missing an entire universe of opportunities. The photographs of the Mother, all of us at some point or the other gazed into her eyes, and as one of my friends said, it's as if they have come alive, it's as if she is looking at you. And yes, she indeed is. And even in the midst of the work, having a photograph accessible where we can gaze into her eyes and meaningfully reconnect is a beautiful, simple, yet most powerful way of establishing conscious contact with the Mother's force. There are many, many beautiful episodes from Ashram Chronicles. A warm golden light emanates from the Mother's eyes, it enters me. One of the sadhaks writes. Naradji, whose videos and interviews and all of those content has added tremendous value to our sadhana, tremendous access to so much of Mother and ashram. He writes, in fact, one time she looked at me and her eyes turned into diamonds. The diamonds hit me right in the heart. There was another lady who had written earlier that, I was facing a difficulty. I knelt before her. She gazed into my eyes, and it was as if she was drilling into me. And there was a deep resistance. It wasn't going away. For some time, Mother gazed into me, and then she withdrew. And a moment later, again she gazed into me, and this time her force penetrated my entire being. And she narrates her experience, how in that gaze she felt like somebody had done a little surgery somewhere in her heart region, spiritual surgery. The Mother's gaze, even now there are those who, looking at her photograph, see light in, around it. All of that. So these are again opportunities for us to reconnect. In fact, many people purchase the photograph of the Mother's eyes and keep it with them. So many places, even in Hyderabad center where I am located, people come and specifically ask for that photograph, the Mother's eyes. So as far as we are concerned, there is only one reminder, that the Transcendental Mother, the Universal Mother, the Individual Mother is also the Immanent Mother, the one who is deep in our heart. I am there, don't you know? Quick, open the curtain of the superficial consciousness and you will clearly see me. Open the curtain of the superficial consciousness and you will see me. I am there within you always. Surely one day you will become conscious of it. I am always seated in your heart, consciously living in you. I am always seated in your heart, consciously living in you. Let us just close our eyes for a moment. Take a couple of slow, deep breaths. Let the breath go right down to the abdomen. Fill the entire chest. Right up to the throat. And gently let us let go of that breath again. One more deep breath. Fill the abdomen, the chest, right up to the throat and let go. Let us become aware of the silence in this room and feel our consciousness expand to this entire room. Become aware of all the four sides of the room in our inner consciousness. Perceive the silence. Hold the silence without thoughts. Gently take another deep breath. Do a gentle scanning of ourselves. from head to toe, part by part. And gently come back from the toe to our heart region. Feel that silence there. Go deeper from the superficial consciousness, layer by layer in the heart region. Slightly deeper. Holding our thoughtless attention there, let us aspire to feel the Divine Mother's presence in the deeper parts of our heart. One can visualize a favorite picture of the Mother. The Mother herself seated there. Offering our pranams, let us pray that we strengthen our aspiration to recognize and realize the Mother deep in our hearts. I am always seated in your heart, consciously living in you, consciously living in you. Let us take a deep breath and let go. After the next deep breath, let us chant Om together. One more deep breath. सर्वं श्री मातारविंद चरण कमलार्पणमस्तु।